Didn't see that plot twist coming. Love that for me. I have read 6 books in 3 weeks.
And then the first thing I see is Drake.
You guys, it's happening. It's happening.
Bad. They seem like a not good group of people. So I'm wondering how they're going to fit into this. Hello everyone, welcome to this spoiler review of the Throne of Glass series. I'm so excited you're here. I'm so excited to dive into this, but I wanted to just come on and do like a little intro and preface this with the fact that this is a spoiler review. So you have a couple of seconds to click off this video if you haven't already read the title, if you just clicked on it because it's Throne of Glass. This is a spoiler review. If you haven't read the series or you don't want to know what's going on, then this isn't the video for you. The video will be starting at this time, and yeah, spoiler review, so click off now if you don't want spoilers. Spoilers include character, plot lines, how the book ends, what's going on in all the books. I do quite an in-depth talk you through where I am in the books and what's happening. So if you don't want any of that, this isn't the video for you. Go check out some other stuff, but let's get started with the video. There's a few things that I want to really just like have a disclaimer on. The first being that I only read Throne of Glass through to Kingdom of Ash. I didn't read Assassin's Blade. I also didn't film in this series, Throne of Glass, because it genuinely took me months to get through it for reasons that you will see later in the video, but it just took me so long to get through Throne of Glass that I didn't even think about starting a series about reading it until I was just about to crack open Crown of Midnight. So there is no footage of me reading Throne of Glass, but I definitely describe it and I definitely get into my thoughts on the book in the rest of the video. I didn't realise with Assassin's Blade that you were meant to read it as book 4. I thought that it was a prequel that had been released after the series had already been made, so that it wouldn't have been integral to the main story. This is because I've read a few fantasy series now where they make a prequel after they make the whole series, because the prequel is kind of like a bunch of context about years past or people's parents or stories that came before the main characters that we know in our story today. That was not the case with Throne of Glass. Sarah J Maas did it as a book 4. I did not realise that. I thought Assassin's Blade was a prequel that was set before the timeline had even started for the characters that were going to be in these books. That was not the case. It was my mistake, but I think it's one that a lot of people get confused with. So if you are one of those people, you are meant to read it as book 4. I didn't. My best friend just got done reading Assassin's Blade and she said it was like context inclusive, but it wasn't like detrimental to the overall story if you hadn't read Assassin's Blade as book 4 or you hadn't read it at all. So I don't feel like I've missed out on too much. I feel like it's just one of those things where yes, it probably would have been smart and the more ideal version of this review video if I had read Assassin's Blade, but it just wasn't the case. So you will not see any thoughts on Assassin's Blade within this because I did not read it. Anyway, when I do a reread of this series, because I know I'm going to, I will do Assassin's Blade as book 4. My mistake. It would have been better if I did it this time. Oh well. Those are all my pre-video thoughts. I won't keep you too long so you can just get straight into the video, but I very much enjoyed making this. So if you do enjoy a spoiler review or a review of books, let me know in the comments which is your favourite part, which is your favourite book. Remember that some people will not have seen that this is a spoiler section or a spoiler video, so maybe keep it tame in the comments. Maybe comment something a bit spoilery in a reply to your own post so that people don't click on it without realising. Anyway, very excited to see your thoughts. Let me know in the comments and I will chat to you later. Guys, it is a few days later, I think. I don't even know the last day that I filmed, but it's a few days later I've just started chapter 13 of book 2, which is Crown of Midnight. I'm gonna need to start remembering these names because I honestly can't. It's just Throne of Glass book 1, book 2, book 3, like. But this is a spoiler section. So Selena has just gone to the party with Archer and obviously gets caught by the guy. I can't remember what his name is right this second, but gets caught and he slashes her with the poison Bloodbane or something. No, what was it? Gloriella. Bloodbane was the last one. He slashes her with a Gloriella laced knife and she just about makes it back to Kale. And he has, start of chapter 13, the first sentence is, "It was one of the longest nights of Kale's life. Every second had passed by with horrific clarity. Every agonizing second as Selena lay there on the floor of his office, her bodice covered in so much blood that he couldn't tell where she was bleeding." So she's just all covered in blood. Obviously it's the guy's blood that she ended up murdering. And yeah, she's just collapsed on his floor and like is entirely covered in his blood, and Kale is like panicking, doesn't know what to do, and then he remembers, I think in a second, that she said it's Gloriella. Davis is dead. Okay, yeah. So I'm at this part in the story. So far it's a bit more up pace, which is usually the case with Sarah SJM. I find that the first book is always the most dead because she does so much world building and so much like initial character touch points that the first book is always just kind of like boring as shit, and you can't, like, she does repeats at the start of the other books, like as some authors kind of do, or most authors, I don't really know. She like reminds you of what happened in the previous story. So honestly you could have just skipped the whole of Throne of Glass and pretty much have the same information as you do coming into book 2. So that's just like my only gripe with her writing style, is that it's just so drawn out. There are so many scenes that happened in Throne of Glass that either could have been made more interesting to me or just been taken out completely and have it like a really short 200 page book that like you jump straight into Enderveer, then you jump straight into the first trial, then like you skip half of the trials, you start finding out the information that people are piling up, and then we're kind of at the final battle scene already. Like the stuff with Nehemia, the stuff with Kale and Dorian, like I get you have to build these like connections between characters, but I feel like just some of it was so drawn out, and like the overall mystery of like working out the weird marks and stuff, for me, like I knew pretty early on that it was Cain. And I feel like she made that very obvious, but again, to other people that haven't read the series, haven't read fantasy series very much, that's probably, like I said before, that probably wouldn't be super obvious. But anyway, I'm into chapter 13 of book 2. It's picking up pace, definitely. I'm not feeling bored out of my mind. I do want to pick it up and read it, so that is a great turnaround. I'm really hoping it picks up pace just a little bit more, because like we're on chapter 13 already and she's still been like following Archer about, and it's like, oh come on, like you could, let's have something a bit more. But now that she's just had a confrontation with Davis and she knows a little bit more about the rebels and things like that, hopefully we're gonna keep picking up the pace. And I very quickly want Selena, if this is the way the story is going, I want her to find the rebels and start working with and for them, so that it heightens the stakes with the king. Because like there's like this dichotomy between Selena being the most feared assassin in all of Adalin, and then also her being terrified of the king. Like I get that she's like, what, a 19-year-old girl, so like I think with the fear and stuff, maybe SJM's trying to like humanize her into an actual teenage girl, which I get. But also, if you're the most feared assassin, you're probably quite psychopathic, which means you don't really fear much, which means you're also like very brave and courageous without like clicking onto it yourself. I don't know, it's the issue, isn't it, with having young young heroines and assassins at 19 years old and also like trying to make them human. It's, yeah, it's like it's an intricate, difficult situation. But hopefully she finds the rebels quite soon and she can start having more stakes with the king to make her fear more tangible. Because right now it just seems like she's scared of him because he looks mean, if you know what I mean. Obviously he's done a lot of bad shit and he continues to kill a lot of people, but the fear factor for the best assassin in the whole of the country, it's just, yeah, it's a bit tedious right now, I think, reading that she's so scared of him and so nervous around him when she's supposed to be like this amazing assassin. It just, like, the two sides are a bit too not controversial is not the word, it's a bit too, like, it doesn't feel balanced enough is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, yeah, that is my thoughts on this part of Crown of Midnight so far, and we're going to keep reading now, so I'll catch you up when we find out what's happened with Selena and what Carl thinks of it. Kale, what the fuck is his name? What do you guys call him? I need to know. But yeah, this is chapter 13, let's go. Okay, so we're starting to see the shift over of Kale from very much the king's obedient servant to Selena's bodyguard kind of man. She's just asked him, are you going to tell the king? And he said no, and he's covering up for her. So he said, if I hadn't burned your dress, I'd make you look at it right now. And she said, you burned my dress? And he said, you want proof of what you did lying around? She said, you could get in trouble for covering me like this. I'll deal with that if it comes to it. No, I'll deal with it if it comes to that. Oh, you'll deal with it? Yes, I'll deal with it. He loves her, he wants to kiss her, he wants to touch her.
Ooh, it's happening. Guys, it's happening. It's happening. Something is happening, I don't know what. Something to do with Dorian, but something is happening. It's happening. Oh my god, it's actually happening. Something is happening other than Selena being a kind of shit assassin. Something's happening. It's actually getting to a good part of the story now.
I am at chapter 56 of book 2. We have just found out that Archer was the one that killed Nehemia. Didn't see that plot twist coming. Love that for me. I think we're just about to find out that Selena is actually Aelin Galathinius? I don't know. I think we're just about to find out that she is basically the heir to Terrasen, I think. So yeah, chapter 56. I'm actually quite happy with how Crown of Midnight has gone. It's had a lot of action, it's had a lot of plot, we've had a lot to figure out. It's been fast paced, there's been monsters, there's been magic. It's really picking up now, where Throne of Glass was just so boring and dead, I can't lie. Like, Throne of Glass could have just not happened and I would just ignore that first book, to be honest. Other than setting up the main characters, Throne of Glass was just dead. But book 2 has definitely picked up. It's gripped me. I now want to know what's happening next. Selena's just sailing away to Wendlin to potentially kill the king and queen. Maybe not. Like, I don't really know what's going to happen when she gets there. Whether she's going to be Selena when she gets there, or whether she's going to be Aelin when she gets there. I don't know. But it also now makes sense, though, that Archer was talking about them trying to bring back Aelin Galathinius and saying that she was on their side, when Selena obviously knew that that's who she is because she was obviously a kid, but she knew who she was when before she was Selena Sardothian, which also then makes it super interesting, because if she knew that he was talking about her but it couldn't be true, then who else did they think was impersonating her? I don't know. That's going to come out. if that's even true, like if it's even a thing. And there was something else I was going to say then. There was something else I was going to say, but I've completely missed it. Oh, and now we know that Selena's a fae. So she can shift between a human and a fae form, which is also quite cool. I thought she was just going to be magic in the way that Dorian is magic. I didn't immediately jump to fae. I was thinking she would be like, not a witch, because I think in this series a witch is like quite a, like more of a monster than anything else. And I didn't immediately jump to fae, although I probably should, because this is Sarah J Maas we're talking about. Super cool. So Selena's a fae. Dorian is some kind of magic person. We don't know yet exactly what he is. Definitely know the king has weird keys. I did predict, which you probably were supposed to, from the moment we started getting emphasis on his ring, that the ring was significant to mind control and the ring was significant to his power. I feel like most people probably would have guessed that just by the significance on the obsidian rings. So yeah, I feel like that was kind of like an obvious one that you were supposed to get. When she went to uncover Elena's crown to find a weird key and it was gone, we kind of knew already that the king had already got to it first. So yeah, that's interesting. And now Selena's just whispered to Kale the date of her parents' death, which now that he's in the genealogy books signifies that she's Aelin Galanthinius, whatever the fuck it is. I'm just gonna call her Galanthius because I can't be doing with all of these names. So yeah, that is where we are in the book. Sam is just about to get here. We're going for a family dinner, so I'm gonna have to stop reading now. I've got 10 pages left, so maybe I can be sneaky and get in the last 10 pages. But yeah, that is the end of book 2. So we are immediately going to jump into book 3, probably tonight, and I will update you on the start of book 3 and what I think, my thoughts of the plot as we go, my guesses on predictions for book 3. It's good so far. Book 1, dead. Book 2, much, much better. I'm hoping, as Sarah J Maas does in her books, that the series only gets better because we have more world building, we have more action, more plot. So hopefully the series is going to get much better. Very excited to continue. Blade Breaker next. I could actually get that today. Oh yeah, and Lee Bardigo's brought out her new. I've downloaded Ninth House, but I'm really not sure on it already. But I think Carrie, like Lee Bardigo is one of Carrie's favourite readers. I've got up to maybe Children of June. I don't know if I've actually got Children of June.
No, there's God Emperor and then there's
Sons of June.
Okay, was no one going to tell me that there was an extenuation of the Shadow and Bone series? Because I've completely missed that. That will also be on my TBR.
I deleted Twitter off my phone.
After that?
No, just generally.
It's
Do you think he was filming himself?
yeah, I think
so too.
himself.
We have the breakout by Sophie Archer. This is the sequel to Behind the Net, and these were recently published by.
So it is 9:30 on Friday night. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday that I was filming. We are 14% of the way through Air of Fire. I really haven't read that much today. I've been watching YouTube. I've been exporting a bunch of footage for my vlog, which on this Wi-Fi at Sam's house unfortunately takes a good while. I couldn't touch my laptop essentially because the Wi-Fi isn't strong enough to run any of my other programs whilst trying to export on it. I was moving photos and videos that I needed for the vlog from my phone or my iCloud or my laptop to my files so that I can import them directly to the project file. If you're an editor, you know the pain of this. So all my videos and stuff go up to the cloud. So then I have to re-download them in order to send them anywhere else. So yeah, it takes a good chunk of Wi-Fi to get that done. So I just haven't touched anything else really other than YouTube today. So we are 14% of the way through Air of Fire. At this point I've decided I can't talk about the rest of the series without doing spoilers, so it kind of doesn't make sense to try and do 2 videos. Like the first book in the series you can do spoiler free because you're not spoiling anything for the rest of the series, but if I want to talk about anything that's going on in the rest of obviously Throne of Glass series, I have to make spoilers because otherwise you're just not going to know what I'm talking about. So we are 14% of the way through what's happened so far. Oh, we've met Maeve, Queen Maeve. We've just met her. Something I'm confused on is Mab and Maeve. I feel like there's a third sister that's been mentioned. I can't remember her name. But are they both queens? Is this like a trio of queens kind of thing? Is Maeve the only queen because she's the oldest and the others are princesses? I can't actually remember. But anyway, we've just met Maeve. Selena / Aelin. I don't really know what to call her anymore. She just wants to call herself Alentia, which is also how I think we're supposed to say that name. She wants to call herself none of those names essentially, just Alentia when she's around these people. We've met Prince Rowan, who we've just found out is a prince also. She's just been told that she is training now to become Fae, to become queen, to become who she's always meant to be. So that's interesting. She's very much still refusing her fate. Clearly been told over and over again that it's her fate now. So I think that's the path that we're going down. Yeah, so she's just met her like very ancient, distant cousin who told her that he'd been on killing fields before her parents and her grandparents were even born. So that's interesting. I can't tell whether it's supposed to be like a weird kind of Fae incest like potential love match. I don't really know so far. He just seems very standoffish, but you know, it's like, are they trying to do enemies to lovers here? What are we going with? So that's kind of interesting. She's now a scullery maid in the kitchens to start earning the answers she wants from Queen Maeve. So Maeve won't let her step into Dora now, I think, until she's earned her right to be there, as it always goes. So now she's on another training quest, as if the first batch of training quests and tests weren't enough. Of course, Sarah has to hit us with the tests and challenges and trainings to, yeah, to make her really suffer for it, you know? We're getting a bad vibe from Maeve. We are getting a bad vibe from Adion? I keep going to say Aiden, but that's because my nephew's called Aiden, so it's just the first name that comes to mind. But I think his name's Adion. I don't know. Him, you know who I'm talking about now. He is a cousin, a very close cousin by the sounds of it, of Selena's / Aelin / Alentia. How many names are we gonna have for all these people? Oh my god. Our main gal, she's got a cousin and he seems to be a bit of a dickhead, but also he is potentially only working for the king so that he can save the fate of his people, so says the King of Darlan, but can we ever trust what he says? I don't know. And we've seen the miscellaneous obsidian ring pop up on Adion, So whether he's in on the ruse, whether he's being controlled, we don't know. And also we've just had, oh, we've had a new character, Manon Bleakbird or Black, I keep going to say so many names, Blackbeard, but I think that's a character from Pirates of the Caribbean. But you know, I'm also talking about Manon, the witch, the Iron Teeth clan witch. There's so many groups of people in this book. There are so many names for so few characters that we've actually met, and it's just getting confusing. But as I read it, I know who I'm talking about and I know who I'm thinking about. So anyway, we've just met this witch as well. She's just killed a bunch of farmers because they thought she was a witch, but she was. And then she ran away, met her grandmother. She's found out that Bubba Yellowlegs is dead, and Duke Parrington has come to get them to fly, I think is what we were trying to say. Duke Parrington is getting them to fly on the wyverns, which I think are these like beastly things from the weird gates, so, or like the other worlds, I think is what they're called. By the sounds of it, the witches were grounded when the king stopped all magic, as well as probably a lot of their powers, so they can't fly anymore, but these beastly things will enable them to fly, so they're very happy to be of service to the king and of service to anything that's going to benefit them by the sounds of it. But they also seem very bad. They seem like a not good group of people, so I'm wondering how they're going to fit into this, because we're specifically being introduced to Manon, so whether she's going to be a foe of Elena's, whether they're going to weirdly become friends, because I keep Elena, it's too many names, Alentia slash Selena slash Aelin, whether she's, yeah, gonna be friends or foes, as like an assassin, like dead of heart, dead of soul kind of partner in crime. I don't know, we're gonna find out, I guess. I feel like I spoke to you last time when Archie was dead, but Archie's dead now. Kale knows who Selena slash Aelin slash Alentia is. Dorian still has no fucking idea. So some nurse slash healer is in love with him, and she's going to be added into the story at some point. I cannot remember her name. It's like Sorcher or something. Shorsha? Sure. A bunch of different characters have just been added into the series, and I'm struggling with all of their names and what they do and how they're going to come into this, but we're going to keep reading. So I'm going to do another half an hour or so of reading. We'll see where we get to. Oh, one other thing. When Duke Parrington was with the Iron Teeth clan, there was mentions of 2 boxes of prisoners, one female and one male. So I'm assuming that is Cultain and what's the guy's name? The cousin of he's of Heviliad. You know who I'm talking about. Him. I'm assuming it's both of them locked in cages with those rings still on their finger, or being mind controlled by Duke Parrington. So yeah, the fate of them is still unknown, but we know that they are still with Duke Parrington, and what he's doing with them does not sound very nice. Let's go read a couple more chapters and head to bed. Hello everyone. It is an embarrassingly long amount of time later, but actually not that much time at all, because I'm a beast and I read a lot of books very quickly. It's about 3 weeks, I think, since I last filmed. In that time, I've had a week away with my family on holiday. I've had like a couple of weeks working. I've read 4 books. So I think, honestly, the last time I picked you up was maybe in Crown of Midnight. And this is all for like the Throne of Glass series that I'm filming for right now. We are on Kingdom of Ash. I've just started, mind you, but I thought I can't try and make this series without even having updated you before I actually get into Kingdom of Ash. So we finished on, I think, Crown of Midnight, where I last fully updated you and like said all my theories and everything. I've read Heir of Fire, Queen of Shadows, Empire of Storms, Tower of Dawn. That's 4 books. I also finished 2 other books in that time. So in the 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks since I last spoke to you, I've read 6 books. 7? Maybe 7 books, I think. Oops. The other 3 books I've read have been from the Magnolia Park series. So I read Magnolia Parks 1, Daisy Hates, and something. I don't know what the end of that sentence is. Magnolia Parks 3, or like Magnolia Parks 2, but like the 3rd book in the series. And that's what I've got up to so far. And yeah, I'm on Kingdom of Ash on the Throne of Glass series, and I feel really bad because I haven't picked up my camera at all. However, in all the times I've been reading, it's been really inconvenient times to film. So I've either been at like Sam's house where like I'm reading late into the night, so like I can't really wake the whole house up by filming. I've been like reading before I go to work, so I'm like sat at work. Well, I say before I go to work, before I start my shift, I've been reading and like just sat in the back room reading my book, so I can't really film at work. Other times have been like with my family and just like put my head in a book, and I can't really film that either. A bunch of excuses. However, let's run through all of my thoughts up to this point. So I've had a big list of theories and things that I thought would happen, so I thought let's just run through them. So in Heir of Fire, let me actually get it up, the description. So because I've read them all so close together that I'm actually finding it really hard to distinguish which books are which and like what's happened in each book, because I've put down one and picked up the other within like 10 minutes. So all of the story is kind of flowing in a way that it's hard for me to distinguish which book I actually read which amount of information in. In Heir of Fire, it is Selena has survived deadly contests and shattering heartbreak, but now she must travel to a new land to confront her darkest truth. That truth could change her life and her future forever. Meanwhile, monstrous forces are gathering on the horizon, intent on enslaving her world. To defeat them, Selena will need the strength not only to fight the evil that is about to be unleashed, but also to harness her inner demons. If she is to win this battle, she must find the courage to face her destiny and burn brighter than ever before. So, when I began Heir of Fire, I can't remember what I knew when now, but my first theory going into this book, like at the very start when we see her like on the roof and she's like drunk and smells like shit and is not really doing much. She's just told Kale that she's like going, she's sorry. She's told him that she is actually Aelin, and I can't remember, this is where the distinction is difficult. I can't remember whether at the end of Crown of Midnight Kale finds the book and like her lineage, or whether it's at the start of Heir of Fire. I have a feeling it's the start of Heir of Fire that he like opens the genealogy books and realizes she's talking about herself as Aelin. Dorian still doesn't know, and he's like pushed away from them, I think, in this book. So anyway, Selena heads to Wendlin, as you know. I think at that point my first theory was that she would actually go kill Galen. I think his name's Galen? No, that's the other guy. Whoever the Ash River is that lives in Wendlin and is the Prince of Wendlin, her blood relative of some kind, I was thinking she would actually kill him, because we see that she's tracking him and he's like riding out and like is actually very involved in the community and in policing like the borders and stuff. He goes on like border patrols. So I was thinking she was going to catch him, either interrogate him or simply just murder him for not saving her mother. And not sending aid to Terrasen. Or I thought maybe if she captured him, got all the information out of him, and he was like, you're my family, we're going to tackle this together, we let down Terrasen before, we're going to send aid now, that would be the partnership then. And Wendlin's forces would back Terrasen when Aelin eventually went back to claim her throne. If she did, or like the rebel forces, they would support the rebel forces in whatever way. That's what I thought the book was going to be at that point. I thought it would just be Wendlin and Aelin / Selena / Elentia, because at this point we're still calling her 3 fucking names. I thought they would team up and yeah, head off into battle basically. So then we find out actually the owl or the eagle or whatever it is that has been watching her is Rowan, and Rowan decides to take her to Mistward. And all of this happens in Mistward. She meets May for the first time. She's told if she wants answers about the weird keys and the weird gates, then she'd have to come when Rowan said she was ready to Doranel, which is Maeve's stronghold, the Fae capital or whatever in Wendlin. So we go on this big quest of Aelin / Selena / Elentia trying to get her powers essentially. And a lot of shit happens. We have some invading forces, the Valg, which we somehow come to know. I can't even remember at this point how we came to know that they were Valg, but we knew they were Valg princes, or a Valg prince inside the soldiers. her and Rowan, oh no, because there was the skinwalkers as well, wasn't there? So they were like battling these skinwalkers. She got really scared out of her wits and like drained nearly completely by one of these Valg, I think. And then like when a Valg tried to chase her, she got skinwalkers to like trap it and like kill it. And then there was like the monster, yeah, I'm remembering now, there was the monster under the mountain in the lake when Rowan set her that task, and she had to race onto the lake to rescue Luca. I think his name was Luca. I haven't heard of him since. Yeah, and then they find Athryl's sword and Athryl's ring inside of the sword. We didn't know at that moment what significance it was, but Celaena kept them. Eventually, she has the face-off at Mistward with the Valk princes. I think there were three Valk princes. Rowan has to get separated from her, but the Cadra come, Rowan's friends, and kind of save them. There's a lot of people that die, there's a lot of people that still live, and Celaena is nearly one of them that kicks the bucket. But she taps into that raw power that she's holding, and she manages to burn the Valk Kings to crisp. That is when Rowan runs over, slits his palm open or whatever, and they clasp hands. Sorry, I'm getting that wrong. Before she burns the Valk to the crisp, Rowan runs over, clasps hands, gives her his power and his whole body, access to his mind, everything. She could crush him with a single thought, and they are Khorana. Amazing. Then like we have after that like a little bit of intimacy, but not really. They're still kind of looking at each other like family more so than lovers or anything like that. And I'm like, this is amazing. I really wanted Celaena / Aelin to have time away from the fucking romance. We didn't need her to fall in love with another man at this point. We needed her to discover herself and her power and all that good stuff. So very glad that happened. I was commenting on it to my friend who read the series like a book or two ahead of me the whole time, and I was commenting to her like, I just really enjoy how it's such an intimate, close friendship, and we're not just seeing her rely on a connection with another man to like spur her to do things. So I really enjoyed that part of Heir of Fire. Celaena's basically called home. She has to go rescue Kael and Dorian and everything, and she says goodbye to Rowan after the face down with Maeve, and I'm pretty sure this is in Heir of Fire. Let me just check the thing for Queen of Shadows. What's the description for Queen of Shadows? Yes, at the end of this book, because everything always happens in the last 20% of the book with Sarah J Maas, isn't it? So at the last 20% of this book, this is why I'm thinking it's in another book, Aelin and Rowan travel to Doranal so Aelin can get the information she needs on the weird keys and the weird gates, and Maeve starts trying to whip Rowan and makes the Cadra do it. So Aelin freaks out. She pulls that flame across the whole of Doranal, having realised that Maeve actually stole the keys. She wasn't working with Brannon, she was working against him. Brannon was not best pleased about it by the sounds of it, because Doranal had then been built out of stone or fortified with stone, so none of Brannon's heirs could come and burn it down. So Celaena realised that at the last moment, decided to save Rowan, pulled out Athryl's key and said to Maeve, because Athryl was supposedly Maeve's lost love and things like that, so she really wanted this ring, had been craving it for centuries. She said, if you release Rowan, you get this ring. She did the trade. Maeve broke the blood oath with Rowan. Rowan immediately swore the blood oath to Aelin / Celaena, and he is now Khorana and blood oath sworn to Aelin. So then they walk out of Doranal alive and well together. Celaena leaves Rowan in Wendelin to sail back to Adalin. So that is where this book pretty much ends. She says, love you babe, see you later, bye, let me go. Into the next book. They are missing each other like crazy. This whole book now, Queen of Shadows, is about Celaena's revenge / freedom from the King of Assassins. What's his name? Anyway, you know who I'm talking about. The guy who pulled her out of the river, so say, saved her life, made her an assassin, sent her to Endervere. Pretty much the bane of her existence. Arobynn Howell. It's come to me now. So this whole book is basically about Arobynn and getting one back on him and freeing herself as King's champion and rescuing Dorian and fighting Kale because he's an absolute arse. So this whole book is basically about Selena coming back, being a rebel force, trying to find out information and capture all the weird keys, trying to take down the King of Adalin, trying to take down Arab and Hamel, trying to build a force together so her, Aedion and Rowan can go back to Terrasen and build up the court and the army so that they can go to war with the King of Adalin at this point. So we find out about the magic towers and having to take them out. Kale very grittingly gives up the information. We are, I think, in this book switching perspectives. Yes, we are, with Man and Blackbeak. And this is a storyline that I really, really loved. Knowing what was going on the other side of the war, or like the building war, was so good for me. Like, I really enjoyed Manon's perspective. I really enjoyed the witch's perspective, like Asterin and Sorrel and everyone. And the Wyverns as well. Like, seeing the relationship build between Manon and Abraxas was so cool. Like, it was one of those moments where I kept imagining Abraxas like, what's the dragon's name in How to Train Your Dragon? You also, again, know who I'm talking about. But I kept imagining the Wyverns as that black tooth? Something tooth. Blue, not Bluetooth. You know who I'm talking about. Something tooth. We're seeing that perspective from Manon. We're seeing the relationship building between the Yellowlegs clan, the Blackbeak clan and the Blue Bloods, and we're hearing like Manon's story about chasing Crocans and things like that, Crocan witches, and this is the build up of the other side of the story with Manon and the host of witches. So I found that story really, really interesting. I really enjoyed Manon's character. I really enjoyed her relationship with Abraxas. I really enjoyed like the tension building between her and Asterin whilst they were in this kind of like fight to the death moment so they could win the games that they had to play in order for Manon to become wing leader. So seeing all those relationships between the witches and like the scheming and the plotting and all that good stuff, the fighting as well, was really interesting. Hated Manon's grandmother from the start. She was a bitch. Yeah, really enjoyed that story in this. We also get, I think in this book, Dorian's perspective with Sorsha. Dorian hooks up with a healer named Sorsha. Long story short, she discovers he's got magic. She tries to help him as best she can, giving him tonics and stuff to conceal his powers from the king, so the king doesn't find out that he's got uncontrolled raw magic. But yeah, pretty much at the end of that, Sorsha gets and Dorian gets Sorsha gets her head chopped and Dorian gets a collar put on for a Valg king, or no, not king, a Valg prince to insert itself inside of him, which is very grim, very violating. Wouldn't love it personally. And he is just like shut down from his body. He starts acting and being someone like his father, which he didn't want to do. Has nightmares about Sorsha, starts to forget her name, starts to forget Kale, starts to forget Aelin. Aelin tries to rescue him in this book because she has to rescue Aedion because the king is putting on this birthday celebration for Dorian even though he's got a collar on. And it's a public execution of Aedion. Lo and behold, Selena finds a way in with Arab and Hamel. Oh, maybe that's this book. I'm getting so confused, you guys. You know what I'm talking about. And rescues Aedion, all that good stuff. Fights with the rebels, tries to murder a bunch of Valg soldiers underground in the tunnels. We find Lorcan, I think, in this book, if I'm being correct. Lorcan is one of the Cadra, one of Rowan's old friends. He's sniffing about. Rowan is back. He's reunited with Aelin, and Aedion finds out that Rowan's got the blood oath and he's in a bit of an uproar, and Lysandra is in the picture. She is discovered to be backstabbing Arab and Hamel and doesn't actually like him at this point, and Aelin finds that out and she's starting to like pally up with Lysandra in aid of taking down Arab and Hamel. So we've got Aedion back, we've got Rowan on the scene, we've got Lorcan on the scene, we've got Lysandra on the scene. Arab and Hamel is a scheming prick and she's trying to get him off the scene. In the end, they blow up the towers anyway, don't they? And then Aelin can go in and try and rescue Dorian and take down the King of Darlan. So long story short, they have a fight on this glass bridge or something like that. Aedion stabs Aelin, not Aedion. Dorian stabs Aelin. Aelin goes to the ground and then is like, my powers, burn the Valk King out of you. Dorian's free. The King of Adalin now comes. Dorian's got control back of himself. Dorian and Aelin both kill the king. Well, Aelin burns out the Valg prince inside the King of Darlan. He tells them, I've done it all to protect you. I didn't want to do this. When we were children, Duke Perrington and I unlocked Erewhon's tomb, or whatever it's called, and he immediately infected both of us with his spirit. Erewhon is inside Duke Perrington. Perrington controlled me through the ring. This whole time I've been trying to hold on by keeping magic out of the place, out of Darlan. Then I've been able to stop Perrington hunting for magic wielders to draft them into his army and kill them all, basically. So the King of Darlan's kind of good, kind of bad, mostly bad, like 99% bad. Had to cut the camera off for a second, but I'm not sure where we ended. So let me just like round up Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn real quick, because if you've got to this point in the series, you already know what the fuck's happened. Empire of Storms, Aelin basically gets another weird key because Manon brings Elid from Morath with Coltane's weird key that she had in her arm. Coltane burns down a section of Morath. Manon breaks out Elid, drops her in the forest somewhere, meets it back up with her host of witches and has it out with her grandmother. Her grandmother basically fucks Manon up because she had to kill she had to kill Asterin. She has like a massive gash to her stomach. She jumps on Abraxas, like flies over the edge, jumps on Abraxas. Abraxas whisks her away. The 13 fight the witches to get out, and they all sail away, but Manon loses them, taking down Iskra or something like that. I can't remember. Anyway, Manon's 13 are now separated from the Blackbeak clan and the rest of the witches in the Legion, in the Iron Teeth Legion. Elid's already on her way by herself to Terrasen. Lorcan stalks Elid because for some reason, I think he was already in the area and then he caught the scent and the thing of the weird key. He still thinks at this point he's got the Amulet of Orinth, which has the weird key inside it. He's looking to unite all the weird keys to put them in the lock and throw them away so Maeve can't have them and destroy herself, because he's in love with Maeve. Then we follow the adventure of Lorcan reuniting Elid with Aelin, which happens. Aelin, Aedion and everyone have gone to Skulls Bay. They've made the Pirate King, Rolf, join up with them. Big battle, XYZ. Everyone nearly dies. It works out fine. Then they go to Yulway, go to the Stone Marshes to find the lock. The lock turns out to not be a lock. It turns out to be a mirror, or like a memory. Aelin and Manon at this point, because Abraxas has dropped her on the ship of Aelin and been like, fix her bitch. Manon and Aelin step into this thing like together. Essentially Aelin learns that she has to burn herself to ash in order to make the lock work, to send back the weird keys and make them unusable and get rid of everyone that shouldn't be in Erelea. Now, all goes tits up because Lorcan sends a signal out for Maeve to come and retrieve Elid, because he thinks that Ansel of Briarcliff, which is a new character we're introduced to in the last 20 fucking chapters of the book. Ansel of Briarcliff turns up with her fleet of ships, but Lorcan doesn't know that Aelin knows who's got the ships, so he sends out a warning signal to Maeve to get her to rescue Aelin, and actually it wasn't needed. Anyway, Maeve and Aelin face down. Aelin's already drained of all her power, can't do anything against it. Maeve's got Elid within her claws and is going to kill her unless Aelin gives her up. Gives herself up. Aelin's like, well, I'm gonna have to give myself up because I don't want to lose Elid and I'm a dumb bitch, so I'm gonna lose one person and risk the whole fucking planet. Rowan's off fighting people, Dorian's off fighting people, the Armadas and all this stuff, and Aelin gets captured and taken away. By the time he gets to the beach, she's nowhere to be seen, just blood on the ground from where Maeve has whipped her so many times with Cain or Cairn. Everyone's basically sobbing, crying. Gabrielle and Fenris, which have been here the whole time, but I just haven't mentioned them because you probably know they were there. Maeve broke the blood oath with Gabrielle and Lorcan, and she kept Fenris captured in her blood oath because he hated it the most, so she wouldn't let him go because that would be what he wanted. Oh, and I think I forgot to mention that we found out that Gabrielle is Aedion's dad. There's so many things in a Sarah J Maas book that are literally the most minor fucking plot points but make up such a big part of the story, and there's just too many to mention. So like there's little bits where like Manon's grandmother tells her that she's the Crockin' Queen. It's like, what the fuck? What the fuck? How many more plot twists are we gonna have in one book or in a book series? But anyway, I'm very, very sure Kingdom of Ash has more to come. Quick summary of Tower of Dawn. Kale is broken to pieces by the King of Adalin. His power crushes his spine. Rowan can't heal it. They send Kale to the southern continent to find a healer at the Tora Kesme to heal him. Nesrin takes him. They sail down. They go to the kingdom. It's called a Kaganate. There's a Kagan or a Kagan, maybe. There's princesses and princes who are all fighting to the death to be the heir. And there's a lot of scheming and plotting. And eventually Irene Towers, the healer, heals Kale mostly completely. They find out that actually there was a Fae settlement that ran away from Maeve years and years ago. Maeve is actually a Valg queen. We find that out through Nesrin and Sartak, which was one of the princes, getting this information from a spider. Oh, you just honestly couldn't make it up. But reading it, so good. There's a face-off. Duva, one of the princesses, is actually a Valg princess inhabiting her. So it's not just Valg princes, there are also Valg princesses. Hence why Maeve is a Valg queen. We find out, yeah, Maeve is the Valg queen, and we have to go tell everyone else so that they know what they're up against. And that Aelin is the one that can burn out Maeve. Now, Dorian and Irene are married because they fell in love the whole time that she was healing him. They're on their way back to Terrasen with an army of rooks, which are like massive. I imagine them as massive eagles. I don't really know. Like, you know when it gets to a point in a fantasy story where like you just can't imagine anymore. I'm just imagining them as really fucking big eagles. Manon is off with Dorian somewhere. Aelin is still trapped in an iron box and we don't know where, and Kale doesn't know yet. Sartak and Nesrin are leading the rooks, I think. Kale's leading some of the ships and like the host of horse like riders, which I can't remember whose name they are now. They are also being led, all of these people on boats to Terrasen to back up Aelin. Now, that is Tower of Dawn. Kale is kind of not healed. His life is now attached to Irene's life through some healer magic. So if she dies, he dies. If he dies, she dies. He's not fully healed, so if she drains her powers, he can't walk properly. I have a feeling it's going to be significant later. Hence why they made it, hence why Sarah J Maas made it that way. She does very crazy things to people for absolutely no reason quite a lot of the time, so it might just be absolutely nothing. Okay, after nearly 30 minutes of explaining the whole plot, we have arrived at Kingdom of Ash. So far, my thoughts on the story, now having described the whole plot to you, is that I'm really enjoying the series. I hate Kale. I don't like him. I really like Irene. I'm getting annoyed with Aelin, consistently sacrificing herself for no fucking reason. You're a queen. Stop sacrificing yourself and sacrifice some of your delegates, okay? I know you're immensely traumatized and have a fear of abandonment, but you're a queen, act like it. I'm enjoying like some of the plot twists with like random people showing up and be like, I owe a life debt to this person. I owe a life debt. I owe a life debt. But also, how many times are you going to owe a life debt? Where are all the tomfooleries of people that owe a life debt and won't show up? That's what I want to know about. But anyway, everyone's basically come to the aid of Aelin, everyone that she's ever owed a debt to, including Irene. But Irene doesn't know that until she's on the boat back to Terrasen with Kale, because he tells her the story of who he thinks saved her that day, which is Selena, which is Aelin. I really enjoy Manon's story, like I've said before. I really enjoy Rowan and Aelin's relationship. However, I feel like it's really intense, and I get that because of the Coranum bond and the blood oath and things, but I think there still is like a bit to be developed between them. Like, I love a slow burn enemies to lovers, and within 2 books you go from hating each other to blood oath and basically married for life. It's a bit too quick for my preference in romance, considering they are like mate bonded and all this stuff, and we find out like Maeve messed up the mating process and they were actually truly destined to be mates, and Rowan found his mate and then she died and blah blah blah. Again, so many fucking intricate details. They just, I don't know, they enhance the story, but when are they ever going to become relevant? Not sure. Yeah, overall I'm really enjoying this series, and I'm gonna be sad I think when I put Kingdom of Ash down. My 2 best friends that have read this series ahead of me have cried their eyes out in Kingdom of Ash. I don't know that I'm gonna cry. I might well do, but it's honestly quite hard for me to cry at a book. I have to be deeply emotionally connected to the characters. I have to be in a very specific emotional state to cry. So we'll see. If I get there, I get there. Not sure on that one. It's like some of it's emotional, but I'm more like excited and like ready for the plot twists and the turns and to see what happens, more so than like emotionally invested in the characters. I feel like I've always had a bit of a disconnect with Sarah J Maas's characters, and this is only the second series I'm reading of hers, so I still have to read like House of Blood and like Crescent City and all that, whatever those series are. So I still have to read those, so yet to pass the full judgment on whether it's her characters and her writing style that make me a bit disconnected, or whether it's just these two. Yeah, the like connection between me and the characters is a bit tenuous because so many of them are pissing me off. So many of them are getting on my last fucking nerve. But yeah, I've just been finding it a little bit difficult to attach that emotion that I'm feeling about the book to the characters directly, less so about the whole series in general. But saying that, I have read 6 books in 3 weeks, so I'm clearly enjoying it quite a lot. I don't want to put the books down. If anything, I take a book break so that my eyes can rest. I'm gonna go through my text right now because I have texted some theories to my friend, and I'm going to update you with some of my theories because I feel like that would be quite interesting. I like going through the books, what my theories were. As we are reading Kingdom of Ash, you're going to know everything, so stay tuned for that. Okay, I look crazy, but what's new? We are into chapter 12, I think. We have found out Irene is pregnant, potentially. We have found the Crocans with Manon and Dorian, but the talking has only just started. And Aelin has sent out a pulse of I'm alive and I've got pride and you won't kill me to Rowan. So Rowan and everyone are on their way, I think, to Doranel to try and find Aelin. Kael and Irene are on their way to, what's it called? Aniel. But my prediction at this rate is that Dorian's dad has already sold them out. So we'll see. Hey you guys, I've just finished work for the day. I am all Eskimo'd up. I just want to give you a quick recap of what is happening right now in Kingdom of Ash. So on chapter 87, it's just beginning. We are at 73% of the book. 73%, 70%, 80% is where all of the good stuff usually starts happening in a Sarah J Maas book. So as much as all of this has actually been quite fast paced and there's been a lot of info, I'm fully anticipating that we're going to get a whole lot more info and action and plot twists in the next 30%, 27%, whatever. We are now at the point where Manon and the 13 and the Crocans have all arrived. They are on the battlefield. They are in battle right now. Evangeline is running messages for Darrow. Adian's just been stabbed in the armpit by the sounds of it. Lyssandra's taking out parts of the flank of Morath as a sea dragon, as a white sea dragon, maybe? Aelin and Rowan are still currently in the potentially not chronological, potentially is, not sure. They are just coming up to Endervere, and Aelin doesn't know what she's going to do if they lose the forces because they found out from Vernon that Morath and Perrington or Erewhon taking 100,000 soldiers to Orinth as they speak. But I do think they are still slightly behind in the story, either by a day or two, or my next theory is that Dorian is going to use the keys to jump to Aelin wherever she is and take her, because you know she's free now, and take her to the battlefield with whoever they've got. So that's part of my thing. But we have just found out that Dorian is flying with the Iron Teeth host all the way to Morath from wherever he is in like the land. The land. So he might arrive there and start like using his power to crush swathes of forces. But I still don't know then how Aelin's going to catch up in time. So whether they just come at the end and Dorian's like taking care of it and like use the lock to send them all to hell, or the Vowel Gland, whatever you like to call it. But I still think that Orcus and Marcus, whatever the fuck his name is, I still think that they are going to come in the story at some point because they've been mentioned so many times that it kind of doesn't make sense for them not to actually enter the world. But then I'm like, well, how are they actually going to be defeated other than the lock? So whether it's like a Sarah J Maas, everyone comes in at the end and starts throwing hands, and the gods are also let in. So Dorian also lets the gods in, as well as Orcus and Martix or whatever. So whether it's like an all-out gods versus Valg kings kind of moment, or I don't know. I'm interested to see. I'm interested to see how it ends. I know there's going to be some big deaths because Sarah just likes to do that to us. But I don't know, man. That's where I'm at right now. That's my theory. Either Dorian is going to use the lock to put everyone away, or he's going to use the lock to let the gods in so that they can have fun and deal with them and then send everyone away. Or he's going to jump to Aelin and the Kaganet host, is what they call it, Legion, and just like portal jump them
to where everyone else is. I don't know. Those are my theories so far. I'm very excited to see how it ends. I don't think I'm going to get it completely finished tonight, considering it is also nearly like 10 o'clock and I need to get to bed fairly early so I can get up and go to the gym tomorrow. It's also hilarious, I don't even think I've mentioned this. I hurt my back really badly at the gym this week. So the only thing I'm going to be doing at the gym this week, like this weekend, is stretching and maybe like 20 minutes on the treadmill if I can stand it. But yeah, I'm in a lot of pain. Lying flat is the best thing for me right now. But that's where I'm at in Kingdom of Ash. Those are my theories on this part so far. Let's get reading and see what is going to happen. We are with Aelin right now, so I'm excited. Let's see what's happening. You guys, they're about to forge the lock. I'm at 78% and my eyes and my throat are going. So I thought I'd read along whilst you watch me. They're in Endervere and they're about to seal the lock. Come back to me. The weird key's dissolved into her arm? The King of Dowland's back. The King of Dowland can do it. And I'd never realised until now that he didn't have a name. He was just the king. Aelin just took Dorian out. My eyes are going. I can't read. She's bargaining for Elena. Deanna just killed her? What the heck? Rowan had hidden weird marks on her tattoos. She ripped a hole into the hell realm, so the gods had to deal with that. She passed through a world of snow-capped mountains under shining stars, passed over one of those mountains where a winged male stood beside a heavily pregnant female, gazing at those very stars. Faye. He lifted a hand as if in greeting. A blast of dark power like a gentle summer night slammed into her, not to attack, but to slow her down.
she's back in her body. Ooh, she'd given up her mortality. Firebringer no more, but Aelin all the same. Oh. Okay, I've reached chapter 100. I'm going to keep on reading and update you later. Hi. Okay, let us do the recap. Because I finished, oh my god, I finished this morning, Kingdom of Ash. Woo! Okay guys, so I read until like 2 AM last night. I didn't realise it was 2 AM, but I did read until 2 AM last night. So I think I hit like 94% when I finally went to sleep. I put it down when Kale woke up with Irene and the battle was over. That's where I decided to put it down. So I was like, okay, the battle's over, Maeve is dead, Erewhon is dead, we can just like get to grips now. The main bulk of the story is over. Everything else is just like the saying goodbyes and the settling up old scores of like, you helped me with this debt, I helped you with another life debt, let's be friends, like all of that kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, let me drop this here. So then I woke up fairly early this morning, to be honest, picked it back up for the final few percent of the book. But goddamn, the whole battle scene was like 20% of Kingdom of Ash. Like 20% of the whole whole book was just fighting. And it did get to a point, I won't lie, where like it was just about people killing Valg soldiers, and I just kept tapping through, like skimming, because there's only so many ways that I personally can care about how you're wielding a sword. And for the people that absolutely live and die for action fantasy and like it's the pinnacle, hearing about the fight scenes, hearing about the things they use, like if I never had to see a siege tower again mentioned in Kingdom of Ash, it would have been too soon. But that being said, the Sarah J Maas always does very epic battle scenes. They are always very long, especially in the final book of a 7 or 8 book series. I was anticipating a very, very long battle scene. So that is all good and well. I thought I would do a couple of my predictions because it's kind of late now considering I finished the video, but I thought you guys would probably want to know what some of my predictions were, just because it's funny. I wrote down the ones that I texted to my friends and I'll be able to relate to which ones it is depending on which book I'm predicting in. So this one is about Arab Hamel, so I'm thinking it's going to either be, hold on, we're going to need to refer to the Kindle, hence why I've got it here. Queen of Shadows? Yeah. Crown of Midnight's book 2. Air of Fire is the one I get confused. Air of Fire is Wendelin. Mistward, whatever you like to call it. Queen of Shadows is Arab Hamel and bringing down the glass castle. So my prediction in Queen of Shadows. So I texted my friend, okay, my guess before I read this chapter, I think Arabin has double-crossed, and he's double-crossed Aelin, and he's told the king about Aelin, and they're going to try and put a collar around her and Rowan. They're going to try and put a collar around Aelin, Rowan and Aedion now, and Arabin will be the one to get to control Aelin because the public still don't know she's actually alive as Aelin. So it doesn't matter if she keeps being Selena. So that was my first, one of my first big predictions in the book that didn't come true at all. Yeah, that didn't come true at all. So that was one of my predictions, that Arabin had actually double-crossed where Elena had double-crossed Arabin. I was like, okay, we know she's going to double-cross, but I think he's going to have already done it because at this point the king didn't know Selena was Aelin. However, Arabin did. I thought that he was going to be double-crossing Aelin at the point where she's trying to rescue Aedion, and then Rowan, Aedion and Aelin would all get collars put on them, and then someone would have to find a way to break them free. In Empire of Storms, Deanna captures Aelin's body and her power and nearly destroys Skull's Bay. I thought that they'd take out the ships, but then a few Valg princes would come and take them on again. So I thought it was going to be like the case where prior to Deanna, or like after Deanna taking over Aelin's body, I thought it would be the case that they destroyed some of the Morath soldiers that came to fight them, but then more Valg soldiers would come as like a second front and kind of like be a big pain in their asses and have to fight again, even though like everything with Deanna just happened and all that good stuff. Aelin like expending a lot of her power. I thought that was what was going to happen. Did not end up happening. However, that theory kind of ended up happening in Kingdom of Ash with like the final battle scene where like constantly Morath just kept bringing on new legions and shit for them to have to deal with. So that kind of like played out, but just not in the right book. This was one of my guesses 8% into Tower of Dawn. So my guess was that Irene helped Aelin to escape her situation. No, Irene was helped by Aelin to escape her situation, so she owes a life debt now to Aelin. And when Rowan rescues Aelin from Maeve, she's going to need Irene to travel across the world to come heal her, or Irene is going to already be in Terrasen with Chaol. Already be in Terrasen because Chaol will tell Selena... I can't speak. Chaol will tell Irene that Selena is Aelin, therefore she will definitely go to Terrasen. And by consequence be there to heal Aelin after being captured by Maeve. I also guess that the Kagan's court is going to help, but maybe the Kagan has already aligned with Erewhon, but the heirs are going to join Aelin and bring their armies defying the Kagan. That's what my guess was with the Kagana, whatever the fuck you call it. That the top guy, the king, he'd already aligned with Erewhon, but all of the heirs did not. And then they were going to defy him because like she was setting up so much that the princes and princesses were in charge of their own parts of the armies. So all of the army's loyalties were to the heirs, not necessarily to the Kagan, although they all respected and revered him and stuff. I thought that was where it was going. Like the heirs were going to take their armies to fight against the Kagan and Erewhon. That's where I thought that was going, but it didn't. So that's really interesting. However, my Irene guess about Aelin being the one to help her and her traveling across the world to get to her because she's both Selena and Aelin was kind of correct, but just not for the reasons I thought. I thought Aelin would need to be healed and saved by Irene, not she was going to be like the final character to like destroy Erewhon. I also had an inkling that like Sarah was laying down like the fabric for the Empress to be the one to be possessed. So we know in Tower of Dawn that Tumelin, I don't know, that girl. We know that Cashin thinks that she was thrown from the tower, not that she jumped, and the Empress was like never seen, always in grieving. So I was like, oh, that could be a good excuse and like a good ploy for her to always be out of the picture, so that when the Valg was stalking, it could have been the Empress, because not like she was not seen in public at all really. So I thought maybe Erewhon had like captured the Empress and the Empress was the one that killed her daughter, which would make it worse because obviously their mother had killed their sister, and she was infected by a Valg, but actually it was Duva. So along the right lines, just the wrong just the wrong royal basically. I couldn't decide if she was possessed or just in mourning. And oh, another theory I had was that the glass castle from the King of Dartland, in my mind, it clicked. I theorized that the glass castle was built so that it always had maximum daylight. So you hear like the snippets of Morath soldiers being most powerful in the darkness, and like all the shadows give them power and things like that. So I was like, oh, so maybe the King of Dartland built the glass castle so that there was always maximum daylight, always maximum light, to reduce the amount of shadows and to reduce like the power that the Valg held over him. But maybe they just didn't realize that, like the Valg prince inside of him didn't realize that, or like Erewhon didn't realize that. So I don't know if that has any validity whatsoever, if that was anything to do with the story, but that was my guess, that the king built the glass castle so that he could give himself some kind of strength and reprieve from the Valg prince, but I could be absolutely wrong. I didn't guess about the Stygian spiders / the Karen Kui. I had no idea about that one. I didn't guess, like I knew that like people would pick back up in the story, as in like when they were on the battlefield for Kingdom of Ash. I knew that there were more people still to come, but I didn't guess the wolf tribes of the Fae. I didn't guess that at all. I didn't guess how exactly the fight would unfold. But like I knew that there were going to be staggering events. Like it wasn't just going to be one all-out battle. Like it was going to have phases and it was going to be prolonged. And like different armies would come at different times. But instead of it being the Fae wolf tribe, I thought it was going to be faraway kingdoms that they'd never heard of, because you know Aelin sent out the call for, well, Aedion sent out the call that Terrasen needs aid. I thought it was going to be like kingdoms far and wide that they'd never even communicated with within Erelea. Is Erelea the like world? Is it just the continent? I'm not really sure. But within the world of Terrasen and Adalin and Doranel and everything, I was thinking that it would be distant kingdoms that potentially like Maeve had conquered and stuff, that had heard the cry for aid, and that they'd come and rescue them, because it would be like a complete unknown factor. Aelin had no idea about it. Like, she wasn't in charge of orchestrating it. It was just like the kindness of other kingdoms to like come on behalf of their like kingdoms and fight. That's what I thought it was going to be. When like the final front would come through, that's who I thought it was going to be, but it wasn't. There were some like plot lines and things that I would have liked to see develop a little bit more, but like I really liked Lorcan and Elid's story. I thought that was good. The way Vernon met his end was kind of entertaining. The end with Erewhon and the end with Maeve was like 60% satisfying for me. I don't really know, like I can't pinpoint what it is that would have made it that much more satisfying, other than like Aelin having all her powers, Dorian having all his powers, and them just like going head to head. Because I feel like that's what it was building up to the whole time. Like we were waiting for this massive head to head with like all of the powers of the whole fucking world smashing together on a battlefield, and like seeing who came out victorious. And I think because it built up to that for so long, that when it didn't happen, it kind of was like a bit meh. Like the most emotional I got during the whole of Kingdom of Ash was Aelin saying goodbye to Rowan when she was about to forge the lock, and Gabrielle with Aedion. Like that's the most emotional I got through the whole book. But I really thought that there was going to be this huge massive fight scene where like just those 4 powers like just came to a head and completely wrecked each other, wrecked the battlefield. Morath kind of like was destroyed by Erewhon and Maeve's like backlash of their powers and Aelin's powers, and then like half of Terrasen like was destroyed by their powers too, but like in the end Aelin and Dorian won and Maeve and Erewhon fell. But I did also think, and I feel like I mentioned this yesterday, that I thought Orcus and Mantix, whatever his name are, I thought they were going to feature, whether it was like through a portal or through like some kind of communication, or they were actually going to join the world and like be really unstoppable, like a really big foe to try and defeat. I thought that was going to happen, just because they'd been mentioned again so many times throughout the book. But I guess it's like to throw you off the scent of like what the actual what the actual ending is going to be. So yeah, I feel like I was 60% satisfied with how Maeve and Erewhon met their end. It seemed a bit too plain. I don't know, I feel like I'm being a bit judgmental because I've just finished the series. Like I know I'm going to look back on this series and have really enjoyed it, because I have. I finished the series in about 6 weeks. I know I'm going to have loved this series. I do love this series. I definitely know it's going to feature a reread. Will I skip some books? Probably. I will probably never read Throne of Glass again. The most irrelevant book in the series by far. I don't know that I'd read Crown of Midnight again. The ones that I know I would like to reread are probably Heir of Fire, Empire of Storms. I think Empire of Storms was my favourite book. Empire of Storms, and even saying that, weirdly I really liked Tower of Dawn, just because it was more of like a mystery rather than like an epic fighting one. Like there wasn't like whole loads of powers and stuff. It was basically just about Irene and Kael and like Nezrin and Sartak just like doing ordinary people shit. So I actually really enjoyed Tower of Dawn. It's one of my higher books in the series. Kingdom of Ash was great, but it was just like, yeah, right now I'm just like 30% disappointed. Like 10%, yeah, great series, definitely recommend to anyone. 60% satisfied, and like 30%, nah. I kind of wish I had like a little bit more excitement and like, oh my god, I just finished this incredible series. I don't know, I'll see how I feel about it in a few days time, and when I get to talk to my best friends about all the theories and stuff, because they've just finished the series as well. I don't think I have anything else to add to this series right now. If I have more roundup thoughts, I will probably include it in my June wrap up of my reads for June, so I will hold any more thoughts until then. But thank you if you've got to this point of this hella long video. Very grateful that you're here. I hope if you've obviously already read Throne of Glass, if you have no interest in reading it now that you've watched my whole video, I hope you've enjoyed this series. I hope you enjoyed Throne of Glass. Let me know your thoughts on the whole series. Let me know what your favourite books are. Let me know what your least favourite books are and why. Who are your favourite characters? Let me know all the things, because there's nothing more I love. There's nothing I love more than discussing books. So get to me in the comments and let me know your thoughts, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.